You gotta watch out for the foreigners because they plant gremlins in their machinery. That's the same gremlins brought down our planes in the big one.
Gremlins is a fantastic story from its concept to the execution to the date of release and the life after the box office. It was a movie that was released in summer, yet it was clearly telling a story about Christmas. It's a horror movie and it's a dark comedy with small rubber monsters and a PG rating instead of a PG-13. But is the movie any good? Let's find out. I'm Meffistoe. Like, share, and subscribe because this is my review of the movie Gremlins.
My dad gave it to me.
Neat. What's his name?
His name's Gizmo. Hi, Giz. He's a mogwai.
The original concept and the name Gremlins comes from the RAF pilots in 1920s, jokingly referring to mechanical issues as little monsters tampering with their planes. The author, Roald Dahl, published a book called Gremlins in 1943 that directly influenced the director Joe Dante in making this movie, but said that his Gremlins were different in design and attitude and were much more chaotic, mischievous, and creative just to make themselves laugh. And to me, it sounds like Joe Dante took the original nature of the Gremlins and mixed it up with the Joker from the comic books. Maybe he thought it was best to just put them in the blender. The story of the Gremlins was written by Chris Columbus, who was inspired by what he called a platoon of mice running in his attic, which completely creeped him out. He wrote a script not as a paid gig, but as a showcase in order to get a job. But fate would intervene and Steven Spielberg saw the write-up and started the ball rolling and got Joe Dante involved due to his experience on the horror comedy The Howling. The story of the Gremlins begins with Randall Peltzer, who is looking for a present for his son Billy and came across a weird furry animal in a Chinese antique shop. He begs the owner to buy it, but the owner refuses. Peltzer does get his way since Mr. Wing's grandson sells the creature anyways, but the grandson warns Randall and gives him a set of rules he must not cross.
He hates bright light, especially sunlight. It'll kill him. Don't get him wet. Never feed him after midnight.
Back home, we get introduced to Billy himself, who works at the bank as a clerk, and his girlfriend Kate, and of course other key individuals in this small town of Kingston Falls.
I don't want money. I want your dog.
The real trouble begins as Billy receives the gift and the rules, but in a typical young adult fashion manages to fudge it all up, and him and the town suffers the consequences.
Isn't that incredible, Pete?
Gremlins has a unique way of skirting the line between wacky comedy and a small little rubber monster horror flick. On the one hand, you get a slow little build-up towards unleashing the wicked gremlins onto this unsuspecting town, and then the horrors of what goes on once it does happen. And on the other hand, the crazy and chaotic nature of the gremlins to amuse themselves by causing havoc, destruction, and bodily harm to everyone around them, including themselves, thus creating the entire comedy bit. But in this whole mix, there are some satisfying moments where you actually cheer for them because their antics are so hilarious, you just can't help yourself but laugh. I would compare these moments into something like watching a man slip on a banana peel or watching videos of people crashing out or failing.
Jesus, Frank, that's Dave Myers. He does Santa every year.
And as a side note, you still have moments where the characters have time for a little bit of character development and personal growth and actually showcase the actor's talents. One such moment is Kate's discussion on why she doesn't like Christmas.
He was dressed in a Santa Claus suit.
Gremlins is such a unique film because it skirts that fine line. So fine, it was one of the catalysts for the change in the classification about a month after its release. It's not the only film that skirted that line because Poltergeist did it back in 1982 and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom did it in the same year but 1 month prior to Gremlins. But the real uniqueness comes from Steven Spielberg himself. He saw the script and read about Gizmo and he immediately knew that regardless of any controversy or any box office fail or not, the movie will still make so much money because of the marketing potential of this cute little mogwai. And he was absolutely right. Gizmo dolls were the thing to buy at the 1984 Christmas.
I'll bet every kid in America would like to have one of these. They might even replace the dog as the family pet.
But with all that aside, that dichotomy between horror and comedy, an adult film or a children's film, the movie did extremely well, and it was very popular because everything within it worked. The struggle of Gizmo that had to deal with these creatures together with Billy, and with Billy's struggle to repair the damage he helped create, keeps that sense of adventure within the movie. And although it does get a little bit scary at times, especially for young kids, the movie's core idea is not to scare you. It is all about responsibility and following simple rules, and how not following those basic rules can lead into complete and total chaos.
With mogwai comes much responsibility.
June 8th, 1984 was a special day of release. It spawned not one, but two movies that had more life as merchandise as it did as a simple movie. One was Gremlins, the other was Ghostbusters. Both had a sort of a sci-fi supernatural theme to them. Both captured the imagination, but Gremlins, mostly due to the young cast and to Gizmo, captured a younger audience in the way that Ghostbusters couldn't at the time. To me as a young boy, I was a little bit too young to watch this when the movie came out in theaters, but when my parents got me a video rental, it had a very unassuming poster on the front of it, and it kind of told a story about a boy and this cute little furry creature. So when I saw this movie for the very first time, I never thought it was a scary movie. Or maybe I should wait until I'm older to watch it. So naturally, I did watch it, and I will absolutely recommend this movie to watch. Whether it's Christmas time, New Year's Eve, spooky October, or even summertime, this movie is an absolute joy. Yes, there are some scary moments in it, and yes, there are some downer moments in it, but there are also some action set piece, kid adventure, and a complete mayhem in a Gremlins fashion. The puppeteering work was done flawlessly by Chris Wallace, and although behind the scenes there were a lot of issues with them, especially the Gizmo puppets, you don't actually see it in the movie because of how good the editing is. And it is a crying shame none of these Gremlin puppets survived due to the quality of materials used to make them, but it is still a great feat of strength. And all of this is accompanied by the wonderful score of Jerry Goldsmith. Again, another iconic theme. I thank you for watching, and remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. I'll see you on the next video.